Hi everyone, and welcome to mini lecture 22. Today we'll be looking at another pre-writing strategy, and that is clustering for topic selection. Before we begin, you will need the following materials for the lecture assignment. Now, I want to preface this and say we will be drawing and not necessarily writing, and so whatever you want to do and whatever you want to use for this assignment is entirely up to you. So I will do the demonstration on a blank Word document, but depending on what you've got available and what, again, is best for you, you can use Paint, Photoshop, InDesign, or if you want to just bypass the digital composition altogether, you can use a piece of pen and paper. And just with that, remember, in order to successfully submit this mini lecture assignment, you'll just need to take a picture of it or scan it and copy and paste that onto your weekly homework document. So really, whatever way works best for you and helps you get the ideas out. The purpose and goals for this lecture will be as follows. First, we'll understand the importance of identifying a specific topic in academic writing. Next, we'll discuss strategies for narrowing down to a specific topic, and then we'll explore clustering as a form of visual-based pre-writing. Now, you can use clustering really at any point in the composition process. I always like to look at it though as a way for identifying a topic to write on, and that can be helpful regardless of where you are at in the composition process or whatever project it is we happen to be working on at this point in the semester. So yes, I look at it through the lens of topic selection, but I think as the lecture goes on, you can definitely see how, like free writing, you can use clustering really at any point of the composition process. The first thing that we want to look at is having too large of a topic. So when you start to write, especially as you start to sort of narrow down ideas, gather information, and understand what you're more interested in, again, your topic still might be a bit too big. So for future academic works, much like this one, you're limited on space. And even if you're, you might hear a professor say, oh, well, you only have 15 pages. And even if that seems like a lot, especially if it's a topic you're interested in, you will find that those 15 pages go quick. So you want to make sure that you have a topic that you can respond to within that space. Now, your topic should be appropriate for the length of the assignment. Oftentimes what I have seen is that many students try to tackle issues that are too large for conventional course papers. So while topics like universal health care or gun rights or the First Amendment, all really fantastic topics, but you cannot adequately address them in 10 to 12 pages double space. I mean, in those those three topics alone, we could write encyclopedias on. And so what we want to do is we want to narrow down and specify that topic to such an extent that we could reasonably discuss it in, however long the assignment is, be it, the 2 to 3 page rhetorical analysis, be it the 10 to 12 page research paper, or even when you get to your capstone and you're writing a 30-page research paper that basically accounts for all the learning you've done over the past, however many years that you've been working on your degree. So that being said, you can really be conscious about how you develop your topic regardless of what class you're in and what the writing situation is. So today what we're going to do is we're going to discuss a method for effectively narrowing down an area of interest to a manageable topic. So basically we're going to take this big broad idea and we're going to make it work for, again, whatever assignment it is we're working on, for whatever, however long the page length is. When we first start talking about topic refinement, an effective method I find is to follow the top-down approach, and that's going to begin with a broad area of interest. These would be a good example of a broad area of interest where I have seen papers in the past, and I myself have been guilty of this, where I'm like, oh, this is really, really fascinating and I want to talk about everything. Well, you can't talk about everything in, 10 to 15 pages, which is what a typical academic paper's length is. So we've got stuff like war, legalization of cannabis, equal pay, healthcare, gender-neutral restrooms, immigration, student loan debt. Well, with the thoughts and opinions and information that are circulating about each and every one of these areas, again, we could write an encyclopedia if we wanted to on it. Like, we really could. And it could become overwhelming to try and compose on something so broad for the restrictions that we will often see in academic writing when it comes to the amount of space we have to talk about that area of interest. So what we are going to do then, we're going to start our topic refinement map. So you can see that I've already started to draw out what this cluster map would look like, and that's really just to save time. But the first thing that I want to draw your attention to is this bit here in the center where I've identified a broad area that I'm interested in, and that is, for me, social media. So we can see that with social media, there are so many different things that we can discuss and explore. And, again, we could write an encyclopedia on social media, and people already are. And so we want to make sure that we are clustering and using clustering in a way that helps us narrow down our ideas. So what I would like you to do then for our lecture assignment is, I'd like you to take that blank document or that blank piece of paper and write a broad area of interest in the center. And so you'll keep that handy because we're going to develop it further. All right, following with our top-down approach, after we've started with a broad area of interest, we then want to narrow down to commonly associated keywords, ideas, or phrases. And we can even view these as potential topics. So if we go back to our social media example, so you can see that we have these orange boxes here that indicate different words, keywords, phrases, ideas that are associated with social media. So let's say this one, let's go with politics, because that seems to be a hot button issue. We could also, when I think of social media, I think of trolling. I think of sharing content, and I also think about commenting. So these are keywords or phrases that are often associated, or at least how I see it, associated with social media. And so you can see now how trolling might be a topic that we could explore, or politics in social media could be something that we could explore, or how people share comments, or how they, add friends or decide who to follow, or how they determine, which photo they're going to use for their profile picture. So you can see that each one of those is far more manageable and definitely more doable in an academic page limit than something more broad like social media. So returning to our lecture then, what I'd like you to do for the lecture assignment is, on that topic refinement map that you have started where you put the broad area of interest in the center, I want you to circle that much like I did. And then what I want you to do is draw 4 to 6 lines extending from the circle. And then at the end of each line, write down a word, phrase, or idea that, at least for you and your exposure to the topic, feel are commonly associated with that area of interest. Now, also remember that these 4 to 6 items they don't have to, but they often do serve as potential topics because they're a bit more specific, but they're still broad enough that you can explore them and really kind of flesh out an argument or an analysis about them. Continuing with our top-down approach, the next thing that we want to do is, for direction, you want to brainstorm a list of your current understandings of each potential topic. So that's going to be opinions, questions, or any prior knowledge that you might have. So let's go back to our example topic refinement map. Okay, so you can see here that I've got my different topics: politics, trolling, sharing content, commenting, but I've also drawn lines here to where I can insert more knowledge. And oops, it would help if I did the right thing. There we go. So let's say we'll focus on politics and social media. So the first thing I can think about is the election 2016 presidential. So that's something that comes to mind first and foremost. Then I would just put this right here. And I will move this little one down here, give us a bit more room. There we go. Okay, so the election 2016, the presidential election, and then we'll add a couple more text boxes. Okay, so another idea, question. So maybe I am curious, how big of a role does social media play when people are deciding who to vote for? So maybe that's a question I have, and I can use that as a research question to perhaps help me search for articles, give me direction when I'm searching for articles in the scholarly databases, or maybe if I'm just doing a quick Google search to get a better understanding. And then we'll do one more. So we'll just add this one down here. Okay. So I could also say, I know that social media sites filter information based on expressed political preferences / interests. Okay, so we can see here that we have asked questions, we have made connections to what is going on about the topic of politics and social media, and we've also identified some knowledge, prior knowledge that we have about this potential topic. So you can start to see how we can develop research questions, we can start to identify perhaps key supporting points to either help us with our argument, our analysis, our synthesis, whatever the case may be. So for the lecture assignment, I would like you to return to your topic refinement map, and I'd like you to put boxes around the potential topics, much like you saw like with politics, trolling, commenting, whatnot. And then what I'd like you to do is next to each box, I want you to brainstorm at least 2 thoughts, be them opinions, questions, prior knowledge, any mixture of them. Next to, again, the different topics that you've listed. And I want you to do this for each, so you will have between 8 and 12 thoughts on there. And if you want to brainstorm more, you are certainly welcome to. So that concludes basically how to cluster and how we can use clustering to help us determine a topic and help us to refine a topic to something more manageable. This can also be helpful when we are maybe you've drafted one of your papers and said, wow, I have way too much content. So you could also use clustering as an opportunity to say, okay, well, based off of what I really want to emphasize and the point that I'm really trying to get at, what's in, what's out, and you can use clustering as a visual way to kind of see how the different content flows. So what I would like you to do is with this, again, if you are using some type of digital program, again, like Word, Paint, InDesign, Photoshop, whatever, if you're using something that requires a computer, you can screenshot and copy and paste it, or you can just copy and paste it in its entirety onto your weekly homework submission. But if you are using pen and paper, you can take a picture using your phone, or you can scan it and then just copy and paste that onto your weekly homework document. So again, really all depends on whatever your preference is. So if you have any questions regarding what we discussed today, or if there are concepts that I can speak to further, please don't hesitate to contact me. All right, everyone, until next time.